Hi, welcome to On the Daily, a podcast about finding the acoustic you. I'm your host, Danielle McCleary. I am a serial optimist and a champion of people who has long been on a search to truly see people and help you peel back all of your layers and become the most acoustic, authentic, and best version of yourself. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Y'all, 2 words, almond cow. If you haven't heard of it, where have you been? It's all over Instagram. It is the at-home nut milk maker that literally you press a button, easy cleanup. It takes 2 minutes and you have your own homemade nut milk. You can literally put any nut you want in there. It will just blend it right up, and there's no added ingredients, obviously, because you make it yourself. We are obsessed with ours. We use it every single day. And if you want one, you can use my code. There's an affiliate link in our show notes, or you can go to Almond Cow's website and then use Danielle 15 at checkout. That's Danielle 15. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to On the Daily. My name is Danielle. Happy Tuesday, or whenever you're hearing this. This episode today is with one of my best friends, Miss Tina Jackson, Tina J. Tina is a fitness, I think a fitness guru. She is the kindest, generous, most genuine human being you will ever meet. She is a healer. She is on a wellness journey to becoming this beautiful wellness curator. And the best part about all of that is she's doing this as a strong Black woman. In this interview, we talk a lot about how the wellness space has long been dominated by white voices and white faces, and her goals to kind of bring this to Black communities and underserved communities and BIPOC communities is really, really special. And I'm just so grateful that we had this conversation. Tina's a dancer, one of the most gorgeous dancers I've ever seen. She danced for so many people, but one of the big ones we talk about in this interview is when she got to do Beyonce Coachella. And we all know that performance was out of the park amazing. And so she kind of spills that experience a little bit. But there's so much we talk about. She's just so special to me. And I know you're going to love this interview. If you are just joining On the Daily, welcome. Welcome to the family. I'm so glad you're here. We have lots of episodes, okay? We're a few months old now, and every episode is its own. It stands alone. Nothing's in sequential order, so you can literally pick one and then dive in. So go back, listen to them. Let us know what you think. You can always slide into my DMs. I am Danielle_on the daily on Instagram. You can find the podcast at On the Daily Pod. Let us know what you're loving. Tell us what you think of these episodes, of this episode. If you are here because of Tina, welcome. I'm so excited. Let's do this. Hello, On the Daily family. It is Danielle McCleary, your host. I am so pumped. Hi, Tina J.
Hello, Danielle. How are you?
Dude, I'm so good. Well, I'm like healing. I'm in it, but it's so good to see your face.
I know. I mean, also thinking about you and sweet Maggie. Rest hurts. Maggie. I love you, baby.
My little love bug. She, it was wild. It was like the day after my dad passed, she started to limp.
Oh my, no way.
Yeah.
Wow. But she lived 12 and a half years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. What a beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. How's Alpha?
Alpha is really digging the East Coast. It pretty much snows every week. And he is down for the cause. So he's loving it. He has grandparents now. So that his love has amplified. And we have another dog, my house dog that we grew up with. So they have a little odd bromance.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
With his name is Maxie. He's a Yorkie, but Maxie is 13, so they have a very interesting relationship. They're both fire signs. Alpha is a Sagittarius, and Maxie is an Aries. So
it's a
very interesting squad in here. Yeah.
Yeah. My Maggie was like, that's like Maggie and Sky. Like Sky's pretty much like the younger husky, and Maggie was the old grandma. And Maggie was a Leo, and Sky is a Gemini. So it's like I mean, they were fine, but
Yeah.
Maggie just had no problem being like, I need you to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how Maxie is with Alpha. He's just like, please calm down, chill out, and relax.
Yeah.
And
So
Alpha's just like, I want to play.
I know, it's the best. Okay, so you're gonna love this. I start every episode with a clearing. So anything that is you need to clear, either like personally, globally, like whatever it is that you need to clear in this moment, we will both give one. But I would love for you to go first since you are my guest.
I just want to clear the insanity of what is really going on to the people in Texas. Like, it just really is blowing my mind, because we're just in the state of a global pandemic. We're doing our best to conform and to get used to it, and then you have this not literally a natural disaster that their government knew about. They knew it was coming. They didn't prep them. I have a close friend down there. I have sorority sisters that are down there. Some with heat, some with not heat, some with water, some without water. And it's just really insane, and I think it just continues to add to this bigger picture and this bigger conversation of like, we are not okay. Like we just really aren't, and I feel like there's always this push of like, let's just kumbaya and we're going to be okay. And I'm like, no, this is legit Houston. We have a problem and we've had a problem for a long time, so it's just this, for me, I just want to clear the fact that we all need to just responsibly and collectively uncover and reveal what the truth is of America, as uncomfortable and as painful as it is, because we can't afford band-aids, anymore. We have to we really have to force what that is, and that's going to require us to continue to be uncomfortable, and that's just what it is, and it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually really glad that you cleared that, because obviously, like, we're recording this in February. Your episode is not airing in February. So like, who knows by the time people are hearing this, like what is actually going on in Texas. But I'm so glad that you did clear that, because I've been kind of like, yeah, I've been feeling the same thing. And obviously Chris is down there, like my best friend. And so hearing his experiences him and Brad are very lucky. But I think my clearing is just, I'm like hesitant to be doing like work like this when something like that is going on. But I also clear, like, you and I can have this conversation, and hopefully, like, if somebody isn't paying attention, like after this interview, they will be. So that I guess you just like confirmed for me that like, this is exactly what I should be doing right now. So thank you for that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So Tina J, obviously, and to anybody listening, this girl and I have known each other for a very long time, better part of a decade. When I met Tina, she had just moved to LA from the East Coast. She was, on her path to becoming this like amazing professional dancer. She and I both worked front desk at SoulCycle in West Hollywood. And every day she would show up with like McDonald's hash browns. And like, I used to just look at her and be like, how does a girl who eats like that look like she does? I have a lot of questions.
And literally, also, I just finished a mason jar of celery juice. So growth, progress, and holy shit.
Yeah. So like, okay, so let's start there. You have had, I think, and this is like, as your friend and somebody that's just been watching your journey, you've had quite the evolution over the last like 8-7 years of your life. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about that journey. Like, what was the pivotal shift to like who you were when like I met you to who you are now? Like, what like, and you don't need, I mean, obviously like that's a very long, like that we could go like into that for hours, but just like a little bit of like, who was Tina J? What has Tina J gone through and who is Tina J now?
Okay, so yeah, I arrived in LA and everything was awesome. I just had this really young spirit and this really open heart to just explore. And also, at the time, I truly was on a mission to dance with Beyonce. And so there was really nothing getting in my way at that point. I just dropped everything in New York because I loved living in New York to pursue this dream. And so I knew that I wasn't going to stop until I had fulfilled that. And I think with being open in that landscape, LA also gave me the opportunity to slow down. Living in New York for the 2 years prior to that and just being on the East Coast, life moves so much quicker. I felt personally in LA, and I like almost felt like when I got there, I was in the Wonder Years. It was just kind of like everybody was so laid back and things didn't open until 11 o'clock and everyone does brunch and everyone goes to the gym. It was just such a different landscape, and I think I look back on it now and I'm like, I don't give myself enough credit to think like you just literally went to the other side of the planet. Like, and you had with no, really with no game plan, just like a suitcase and just like this heart of optimism and hope, and that was enough for me. That really was enough for me. And then of course my faith and my spirituality, I just was like, there's nothing that can stop me, and I'll deal with it, as I go along the way. And so I think that, I mean, as the days went by, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually going to be much harder, than I expected to be, because it just wasn't moving so fast paced like what I was used to. I was really confronted with my thoughts and my feelings, and so many more questions than came into my body of, do I belong here? Should I be doing this? I don't know if I even fit in. And so I think it's really wellness. Wellness is what kept me there and really guided me through. And I don't think I ever expected to have a career in wellness, because that's just not what I went to LA for. And I think that was really the gift that was waiting there for me. And obviously, wellness is a huge part of my life now, and I believe that the trajectory and the rest of my life is going to be in wellness.
That's amazing. Like, what do you like? What kind of wellness? Like, where do you see it like going?
It's really interesting because I love variety. I love variety and I'm an explorer at heart. So I'm never really settled in one thing. Like I have a past with at Soul Cycle working in that wellness space. Also have a past with working in the Kinergy space and have kind of just dibbled and dabbled everywhere. I'm a huge yogi. And I think that I don't know if I'm sure this title exists somewhere, but I think that my future is going to be more so like a wellness curator. Like, I really like to be in spaces. I want to basically like be the Barnum and Bailey wellness circus, like in a sense, like, you can pop up this tent and we have all these amazing things here, for you. Because the other thing is what I'm noticing is, our what's so beautiful about us as human beings is that there is not one blueprint that is the same. We all are so innately and beautifully and divinely different. Yes, there are a lot of things we share, but we at the end of the day, we all just have a different foundation. And so I don't think it's okay for us to just spoon feed one type of wellness track and say this cures all, yoga cures all, yogi steaming cures all, breath work cures all. It's very infinite, the possibilities of what wellness can look like for different people. So, and I love community, and I want to be in spaces and create spaces where I can connect with so many different people. I think that's something that I loved about Soul Cycle. It's like you have such a vast array of people who come, people who are even like, I never thought I would be on a bike. I hate bikes, but I'm here, and so it's really hard. That's where I'm at in my life right now, because it's like, if I go here to this one community, then I'm only here in this one community. And I am a person who just really likes to mingle, so I'm like, what if I just, find or create a space where I can mingle with all the wellness stuff and bring all types of people together. I think, and that's another thing that's really important to me moving forward is fully creating transparent and inclusive places. I think everyone wants to say that, but I don't necessarily always feel that. And so that's something I'm passionate about too, is, like really looking out into a space and really seeing a collective, a rainbow of people.
I love that. I have I'm sure I've said this, like I got this motto in life, and it's from my friend Britt Barron. And she always says, like, look around at your life as like a big dinner party. And if you close your eyes and you see who's there, like focus on who's not there. And then how do we get as many voices to the table as possible? And that's kind of like this mission. I think like when I wanted to create this podcast, like that was the mission with this podcast, is like create a space in a community where truly every voice was welcome and celebrated and elevated, and so I really appreciate that you say that, because I agree with you. I think a lot of people want to create inclusive environments, and maybe it's just that, like, it's easier said than done in a lot of instances. And a lot of people like have the dream, but they don't know how to do it. And so I like that you just like kind of cracked that open, because it's true. I mean, as we move forward, I think especially in this like post-COVID era that we're going to enter into, like connection is going to be everything, right?
Yeah, it is, and that's, I think, where we are for me in this time and space, is that like, this is like the melting pot of healing and uncomfortability, because like you're saying, like, I think that everyone, honestly, when people say, we are an inclusive space and whatnot, I do believe that the intention is there. I don't think you would say it if you didn't mean it. However, then it's like, well, what is the next step? And then the next step is then saying, it's like, you can't just be like, everyone is invited, you know what I mean? Like, and not actually go out into the community and say, like, you're invited, we see you, or we want to collaborate with this person from this community because we see you, you know what I mean? You have to now start to dig in and do the work that just has been not done, for so many years. And I feel, just kind of in my spirit, that we are the people of this time to do that, because it's like, if we don't do it now, like this is such a window of opportunity for us to do it, that, it would really behoove us, I think, to really to hop in and just, like they say, get dirty.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this might be a sweeping generalization, but it's definitely one that I felt like the wellness space in general has long been a very white dominated space, right? So, and obviously you are like, I tell you this all the time, you are like the strongest, fiercest, one of the like strongest, fiercest Black women I've ever met. And I think I want to speak for it. I can speak for being a white woman in this space, a white woman who grew up in Los Angeles, so grew up around a lot of diversity. And I do consider myself a really good ally of the Black community and the brown communities. But even I'm like, what can we do better? So as a Black woman trying to create this like beautiful, be a curator of wellness, like the Barnum and Bailey of the wellness space, like, what do we do? Where do we go from here? How do we make this? I mean, you say like go out into these communities and collaborate, but I would just love like ideas and just, any innovations that you've thought of that like this can like truly become the reality. And this space of wellness doesn't have to just be dominated by white people who every once in a while invite like Black voices in, but it is truly like becomes a melting pot industry and community, you know?
For sure. I think for me, it always goes back to education. And I think that a lot of these spaces where we are, I can't speak in depth about yoga, but yoga spaces and just spaces in general, where if you are teaching, physical class or physical movement, I think that if you're an instructor, I think that a part of your training, or whoever is creating these training programs, like there needs to be more trauma based training that goes into what's happening. There needs to be more racial awareness training that's happening, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if you aren't aware of these things, and you're in a room full of people and you're teaching and you're just like, all is well in the world, go, yes, and be your badass self, yes, that is affirming. That's amazing. And in that high of a moment and in that space, it's incredible. But when I leave the space, I still have Black skin, and so while I feel that affirmation and I love that affirmation, it almost is like it gets diminished because the minute I walk out the door, I remember that I'm Black again, and so I think that there just has to be more of an awareness of how teachers teach in the spaces that they teach. I also think that there needs to be more research that's done in these training programs to really get to the root of, why are certain moves being done? You know what I mean? Is this an indigenous people's move? You know what I mean? Or is this a African rooted based move? And if these are those things, then celebrate that. And it's not that you can't do those things, but celebrate that, honor that, talk about what that story is. You know what I mean? Don't just throw it out of your body because you saw it and it looked cool. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this tribal movement. Let's do this. It's like, we got to like kind of like go back and like really think about what we're doing and how we profit off of BIPOC people, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And so I think it's, for me right now, it's just getting to the root and giving the credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? Because what's really interesting to me, and what's something I also just want to explore from my own knowledge and experience, is that, wellness, honestly, that's what we, I think, as a Western society call it. That's what's in popularity right now, wellness, but wellness has been around since the beginning of time. Maybe it was more so called ritual, and so that's the way humans have had to do ritual. It's naturally in their body, it's naturally in their hearts. And so going back and like really thinking about, where we came from, and what's interesting to me, I think, in the wellness space, if we want to get really deep, is, how did Indigenous people, how did Black people, what were the rituals that they were doing when they were being ostracized in this country? And going back and reflecting on that and honoring that and saying, wow, through everything that these people went through, this is what they were doing to heal, instead of now all of a sudden, we live in this space and it's like, I'm this wellness guru, I know how to heal you. It's like,
we're going to do a
for
moving
me, I think it's
meditation.
like,
You're like, okay, but where did that come from?
right. And it's like, okay, like how much more cool. And maybe it's just because I'm like a nerd. I was like trying to say nerd and geek at the same time, a nerd. The nerd in me is just like, how cool would it be, if I was in this movement meditation class and the teacher was like, we're gonna say this mantra, it comes from this society, they give you a little bit of background information, and then you start to grow a connection to those people, and then you start to see those people, and then you leave and you're like, I wonder who those people are. And I start to do my own type of thing, but I think for me, and my hope, at least now moving forward, is, I think we need to, this is just my opinion, but it's like, I just think that it needs to be death of a guru and the awakening of the collective. I think that if we heal together, you know what I mean, instead of it always being this one face, and particularly whether it's a white man or a white woman that's like offering this healing. And it's like, it's starting to get really triggering, especially now, because it's like the people who are ostracized and everything that's happening, whether it's COVID or whether it's racial incidents, Asian hate crimes are happening. All these things are happening. And the person who wants to heal us, we're like, wait a minute. Like, you've got to feel what we're feeling. You got to see what's going on down here. You know what I mean? And we're trying to meet you in the middle, but it's always this push of like, we want to do this for you. And it's like, we want to meet in the middle. You know, that's what I collectively feel, you know, because I'm like, if minorities wanted to uprise, I think that would have been happened, and that hasn't happened ever. Like now, you know what I mean? And it's still not happening. You know, it's just let's meet in the middle and see how we can actually integrate.
It's so interesting to hear you say that because so I'm obviously I run a business in the health and wellness space, and I'm part of the diversity and inclusion council for this company. And it's the council itself is so diverse, and I definitely like represent like the LGBT community in this, but it is, you know, there's a woman, a Muslim woman from Canada in this group. And, you know, we talk about like, how do we push the envelope of diversity and inclusion forward? Like, you know, is it a training that everybody's required to do? Like whatever it is, whatever it looks like. And, you know, there's some voices. It shook me a little bit because I was like, oh yeah, I see how this person would feel this way. So a woman spoke up and, you know, she's like, I just don't know why we need to have separate trainings. I don't know why we need to have like a separate section. Like, why don't we all just be one? And it was a white woman that said this. And I was like, okay, as a white woman, I understand why you are saying that. And it comes from a place of love. It really does. Like, it comes from a place of like, I don't want to see you different. Like, I want you to be, and it's like, I get it. And then so this Muslim woman that's part of this council, she comes forward and she said, right, but have you ever had to ask your husband permission before starting a business? Because that's what I have to do. And if I don't have a training that is for me, that teaches me how to have a voice to have that conversation with my husband. And I was like, yeah. So it's coming together as a collective, and it's not a but, it's an and understanding that there still needs to be a differentiate. Like, we still need to differentiate because that's history. That's past. That's reality, you know, depending on where you came from.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for that woman, like you said, like bless her heart, because again, I know that she means well, you know, but it's like if we want to even take it down to like layman's terms, it's like, well, how would you feel if there was just one color on the planet? Like, what if everything was just red? Like, what if everything was just red? No, you would say you like red here, you like blue there. You give the colors their label, because you know that is what they are. That's what makes them unique, you know. And I think we have to step away from those statements, because those become very dangerous blanket statements, you know. And it's just like everybody's experience here in America, and that's the whole premise of America is, you know, all men are created equal. This is the land of the quote unquote free, you know what I mean? So that now that is, it's now our responsibility to really uphold what those mean, what those words mean, investigate what those words mean, and be honest in the fact, you know, it's like woman to woman is different, man to man is different, non-binary to non-binary is different, LGBTQ person to LGBTQ person is different, you know, it's so different, you know what I mean? But it's like incredible at the same time, you know, it's like, wow, like we've evolved this much, you know, but we don't have a system, I think, that like really creates a real safe like haven for us to all like kumbaya yet. And I think that now we're in that age of like building Noah's Ark.
Yeah, it's like in order to really be able to get to a space where we can collectively kumbaya, it's going to take radical listening, like radical listening. And I think that there's a lot of people that are just still unwilling to radically listen. They think they're listening, but they're not. And I've been in that position, you know, where I've even been like I'll put myself on blast. Like I grew up in a very diverse community. I grew up a dancer in Los Angeles. Like I did hip hop growing up. Like I learned about the roots of hip hop. Like I celebrate the roots of hip hop. I celebrate the roots of, dance in general, like all the time. And so there's a part of me that's like, why is this so hard for everyone? But I also then have to go, okay, but Danielle, you're part of the problem. Like cause you are like, it's all radical listening. And it's been a really beautiful, I honestly think that out of 2020 will come some of the most beautiful transformations, because I've learned in every area of my life, whether it be racial issues or like political or like, I mean, I've had some beautiful conversations over the last year with people that I may completely disagree with, but the ability to radically listen, it's a gift, it's a gift. And I think being able to do that is what's going to get us closer to that like collective kumbaya that I think most people really do want,
Yeah, they do. And it's scary, it's just, it requires us being vulnerable. It requires us being transparent. It requires us being honest, and I just think that's what's really interesting. Like COVID has really kind of leveled out the playing field in that, and seeing that it's like, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what color your skin is. Like COVID could take anybody any day at any time. And then just even climately, financially, everything, everyone is getting a butt of some of it in some form, and I can only pray that that is the thread that creates a stronger, bond amongst us.
I want to switch gears for a second, because right at the beginning of your interview, you said, I moved to LA and I had one goal, and it was dance for Beyonce. And then a couple years later, you did that. Not once, but a few times. And so I need to ask, do you believe in manifestation? Or did you?
Oh my God. 1000. I think the second time more than the first time, because I think the first time was like young ego, like just like, of course I knew that when I was 16, and I've been training my whole life. I know this person and that person. And then it was just like, boom, like, and it happened. It happened. So I just was completely thrown off about the first time when it happened. And I was just like, okay, yeah, of course it happened. But the second time for Beachella, I had to really work for that. Like that, I had to really work for that, because I think what a lot of people ask me about Coachella and how incredible it was. But the 2 years up to Coachella were like some of the hardest years getting to that. Like that was truly like the Mount Everest, I feel like, of my commercial dance career there, because Beachella happened in 2018, and in 2016, like my ex-boyfriend had broken up with me, and we had been together forever, and that was super difficult. My agent at the time in LA, they dropped me. They said I wasn't working enough, and they just didn't feel like they could fulfill my dreams. I got cut. I was like one day away from going into rehearsal for the Super Bowl when she did Super Bowl, and got the call the night before that I wasn't needed. And I was devastated. And then a few weeks later after that, the Formation Tour audition happened, and I was like in the last like 30 girls, and she took 20 girls, and I didn't get that. And I was just, and all of that happened in 2016. And so at that point, I was just like, I kind of started letting go of that dream of dancing with her, even though I had already danced with her prior to 2016.
VMAs, right?
Yeah, the VMAs. I was just like, I don't know, maybe, I danced with her once, and I should just settle for that. And I should start thinking bigger. Or not even bigger, but I should just start thinking that there's more for me, because maybe that's also that I'm just so focused, on that one thing.
That you might be like missing what else is happening around you.
Yes, for sure, And the moment that happened, it was like a new window had basically opened, and I had really become in my flow when I was at Soul Cycle, and campaigns happened, and Lululemon happened, and Dancing with Other Artists, Grammys, Cardi B, Pink, Kelly Clarkson, NERD, you know what I mean? All these other things started to happen, and it was just like, oh my God. Like, I was so focused on, the queen, which she is the queen.
Yeah, like
But
respect.
but I didn't even know that like I could do all these other amazing things. I mean, I'm out here, so I might as well do it. And then same thing happened again when I went to the Coachella audition and I got cut. And I remember when I got the audition, and I remember thinking it was like everything was just kind of working in its favor, because I was like, thank you, B, for having the twins. That means like I have more time to prepare for the audition whenever you have one. um, and then when that audition came, I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is the one. Like this is the moment. The audition didn't say that it was that, but I knew it. I put two and two together. And then I did the
Oh, so
audition.
the
I was
audition,
so
you didn't
stressed.
know. You didn't know that it was for Coachella. Like you did because you figured it out, but they didn't say like this is for Coachella. Yeah.
No. And I was so stressed, at the audition, and I never used to be stressed, but I just felt, I was like, so much is on the line and whatnot. And then I went to that audition and I got cut. And then I remember going home that night, and I was like, I know the team, I know how everything works. Honestly, I know how things work in the dance world. Things are changing all the time. And I was like, nothing is final about that performance until it airs online. Anything can happen. Somebody could call me the day before and just be like, run out there and do this. And so, and I have this posted till this day. And that night I wrote book Beyonce Coachella, and I put it on my wall. I put it on, I think, the back of my bedroom door, and I just left it there. I didn't overthink it. I didn't think too much of it. I just said, if it's in the cards for me, God, I will be there. If not, totally okay. And I'll never forget. I think it was like top of February, just got out of a Soul Cycle class, got a phone call and was like, hey, can you come? Would you be available, for the next 3 months? And I was like, sure. Anything you want me to do? Would you be available these 2 weekends? I was like, absolutely. I still didn't know what the project was, but given what the dates were, I was like, okay, yes, yes, yes. And then like within 24 hours, I walked into my first rehearsal, and I was just like, I literally can't believe what is happening right now.
I remember watching that from like as your friend, and like you were a steel trap, first of all. Like, I mean, obviously you had to sign NDAs like out your ass, so like you had to be a steel trap. But like, Tina, I think one of the things about you that is just always so striking, and I know anybody that knows you will agree with me, your humbleness in this life is unmatched. You are humble and you are grateful above everything else. And I just remember like I would watch you, like, because we had crossovers and stuff at Soul and like just friends in general. And like I would watch you and I knew what you were doing. Like I knew what you were rehearsing for. And what was that process like for you? Like we talked a little bit after the fact, and you were like, listen, you don't show up to a Beyonce rehearsal unless you are full out, because let me tell you, if it is not B that is full out, it is Blue that's full out. And she is there. Like we had this conversation, and I just know that there is like people, I think a lot of people, they want something so bad and they'll manifest it and they'll do all that they can. But it's like you got to be willing to put forth extraordinary effort and like unwavering faith towards the things that you want in this life. And that I feel like for you, like that's exactly what you did. Like you had unwavering faith in your ability to do that job, in your talent to do that job. But I want you to talk about like the work ethic that goes in. I mean, I think a lot of people underestimate the dance industry and like how hard people work. So like talk a little bit about that, the work that went into that.
Yeah. I mean, and then also just to piggyback on what you said, it also takes courage to just even ask, to just even say, universe, this is what I want, and I think that there has to be, some humility in when you ask for it, and know that you can ask for what you're thinking that you want, and it just may not show up how you think it's going to show up, or when it's going to show up. But having that courage is like, and that's I think that's what's cool to me about life. I think I'm always super intrigued by people who have courage on whatever level it is, you know, emotionally, physically, in sports, relationally, with people, and opening their hearts to their significant others, you know, because I'm just like, I'm like, sometimes I feel like, as a whole, you know, we forget that we're a part of this magical planet. Like, we're literally on this planet that's just hanging in the sky, just doesn't fall, or, you know, doesn't crash anywhere. There's thousands of stars. There's other planets we can see. There's literally magic happening all the time. So who are we to not ask to be a part of this, you know, magic, you know, and to serve in that way, you know. But as far as what you were saying, the work ethic that, you know, that went into that, you know, I honestly think was my whole life's work, you know, my training, the discipline that I started with, you know, as a child, to be able to get through those days mentally and physically, you know. Doing a production like that is not for the faint of heart, you know. It's at that point, it's interesting because that project to me became way more about my mental than it became about my physical. Like, my body at that point was so equipped for that. But to have to be able to show up every day for hours, you know, 8-hour days, to be kind of tucked away in this space, you know, I would really only see the sunlight when I was going to rehearsal. By the time I was gone, you know, it was nightfall. So being able to have the patience and to be able to have the focus to stay in it every day, and every day is so different. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with a production like that, you could be dancing the whole 8 hours a day, or you could be sitting for 6 hours and only dance two. Every day is so different, you know. So it became very much about the mental side of it. And, you know, what a lot of people don't know, which is so interesting, it's like, I look back on myself and I'm like, wow, Christina, you're always doing the most, but I love you. While I was doing that project, in the midst of it, just for my peace of mind, because I didn't really have a life, that became my life. And I still felt that I needed to prioritize something for me. Like, there needed to be some outlet for me to feel my worth and my value, in all of that. And I did a 40-day yoga challenge in the midst of that. And so, because of the way my schedule was, I either had to go to yoga at 6 a.m. Or 7 a.m., or I had to go to yoga. If we got out of rehearsal in time, sometimes I would make like a 8:30 yoga. And if we didn't get out of rehearsal till like 9 or 9:30, I would have to go like there was a core power in Hollywood, and they had like a hot power fusion at 10:30, and sometimes I would take that. And I'm just like, I don't even know how I had the energy to do it, but I knew that my mind needed that. And I also found like kind of gratitude in that. I think that that was my way of thanking the universe every day for giving me this opportunity, because the very last thing that I wanted was to be in a job and hating it, just because of the ins and outs of every single day. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not magical every day. Like, obviously when you get to the stage, it's magical, and there are moments that are like, oh my god, that blow you away. But then there is the monotony of every day just doing the same thing and drilling it in every day. And so I wanted to remain very grateful, because I just realized that this was such an extraordinary opportunity. It was my life's opportunity. And yeah, that's what kept me sane. And that's also what kept my body, I think it kept my body healthy and aware, because we were on that pyramid every single day. You know, and dancing on that pyramid is not easy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm used to you like you train your whole life to dance big and beautiful, and then all of a sudden it's like you have 12 inches to dance and as big as Queen Bee, and you're like, okay, so this is a whole nother hurdle that I never thought of, you know? So yoga, coming back to that center and that mat, and just like being present that's honestly really, I think, what got me through that period of time, because it was demanding, to say the least. And then on top of that, because again, like I said, I like to do the most, I cut my Soul Cycle schedule down significantly, but I was still teaching like three times, like three, I think like 3 or 4 times a week. And there were times where I was like cutting it so close. Like would teach my 9:30 and like literally be zooming down Hollywood Boulevard to get to rehearsal and like get through security, and like rehearsal starts at 11. I'm literally there like 10:58. And I'm like,
and you can't be late. Like you absolutely cannot be late for Beyonce.
no, like, no, no, like, so. And there were some times, let me tell you, I was like crawling in there, like,
you're like, please don't notice,
like,
please don't notice. You're like, do, you don't see me, you don't see me.
Thank God. Yeah, that, yeah.
I will never forget watching that performance. Like, obviously, like Breezy and I are such fangirls of you. Like, and it's funny because it's like you also are one of my greatest friends at this point. And so it was so funny watching. I will never forget, we were like contemplating going to Coachella just to see that performance and see you do that performance. Decided that watching it with all of the camera angles in our bed would also be a great idea.
The best.
The better idea. We saw every angle. We saw every move. Like we didn't miss anything. I didn't have to worry about like some teenager on ecstasy, like rubbing up against me. Like it was,
and that was so intentional. And like, that is so intentional because
for sure.
The queen does everything for the camera. And that would be so amazing. Like we would be in rehearsal and she's moving and she's like, where's camera 7? No, not camera 7. Now we need that. She is orchestrated that whole thing. So yes, you got to see her brilliant work in that.
I mean, we got to see all of your brilliant work. I mean, I've always like looked at Beyonce's dancers at like some of the hardest working dancers in the industry for sure. You know, and obviously like I knew Ashley back in the day, like through like from Chico, like all the way back from Chico. And just like seeing her journey has been amazing. But like we were watching, I want to like paint this for everybody who's listening to this. Breezy and I are laying in bed and we're watching this performance, which like we had just watched Post Malone, and like sweet Post Malone, bless his heart. Like, oh man, maybe one of the worst live performances I've ever seen. And I was like, and to have that be what, you know, it comes before Beyonce, like, woo, okay. But we're sitting there like watching this, and then we're like, it starts, and I was like, oh yeah, Beyonce looks great. But we were like, where's Tina? Where's Tina? Is that Tina? Oh, I think that was Tina. Oh, I think that was Tina. And like we kept having these moments of like, oh, I think I just saw Tina. And then the moment happened where you were like laying on her lap, and I was like, I mean, I wish I could scream as loud as I did in that moment, but I was like, holy shit, like, that's Tina. Like we were so like, I literally felt like the pride that like a mom would feel, you know, like it was just like,
and that was like hardest. That was the hardest part of the whole performance, to just like be there and just be like, just like heart racing. And I'm like,
yeah, they're like East after you had like literally just worked out like a lot, and now you're like heart rate like having to hold still, like,
and they were just like, everyone be calm, like this is a face shot, like you have to be like, your eyes have to be closed, have to be relaxed, and you have to look beautiful. I'm like, okay.
Trying not to hyperventilate.
Like, awesome, got it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was such a cool thing. So like, what would be your advice? Because I mean, you just said it, like in your mind, that was your life's Mount Everest. And how old were you when you did that?
What, Coachella?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This is 28.
So you were 28 years old when you did your life's work, in your opinion. So now, since then, you obviously left Soul Cycle. You like went back to the East Coast. You're now on the East Coast. You may stay there. This is my last question for you. What is your 5-year vision?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think what's really important for me right now is to plant a new seed that anything is possible. Because I think that's where I started, and then sometimes you just kind of can get, or I've noticed sometimes I can just kind of get wrapped up in the same story and trying to grow from this tree. And there's a part of me that's like, grow a new tree. You could totally grow a new tree. And so I think, I want to take this time to, I think really in the next 5 years, I want to, because I see myself in the wellness space, is that I want to start exploring wellness from the root. Like, where did yoga begin? Where did ritual begin? And kind of start going more on a cultural adventure of how, specifically how my ancestors healed and what got them here. I think it's going to be really important for me in the next 5 years to figure out, where do I come from beyond here, like where are the actual roots of my origin. That's going to be really, really important, and that's, I think, also going to be a part of my life's work with helping specifically African Americans get to that. I think that there is a lot of honor that comes with that, and we need a compass, to kind of get started on to, why am I the way that I am, so I think this year is like really radical. Like you were talking about radical listening. One of my mantras right now is that radical love requires radical change. And so I'm creating radical change right now by just, slowing down, being at home, addressing things with my parents that I didn't necessarily always have addressed, addressing issues that I've had with myself. So I think that, and that's going to take much longer, I think, than I anticipated and expected it to be. So I think in scope, I think the 5 years for me are really going to be about, my healing and who, from my traumas and from my wounds and from my disappointments and heartbreaks, how can I then be of service to people who look like me? And also, again, just create these spaces of really multi-generational, integral, diverse people, where we can have conversations and heal together and heal responsibly. So I think that, and it's interesting because I also think that had you asked me this question last year in 2020, I probably would have been like, year one, this, year two, this, year three, this. And I think I'm trying to give myself some grace in the space of letting go of control, because I do love to control the narrative a lot of times, because that brings me, safety and stability. But now that I'm crossing into this threshold of, what is my like real purpose in life, like that has to be revealed to me in a way different capacity than me, deciding what that is. And it's really scary, but it's also really incredible, you know what I mean? Because I think I can look back in my 20s and look back in my time in LA and just think like all the things that I really, really wanted to do as a child and as a teenager, I did, So now, I think it's really, really, I really want to hold myself accountable to, why am I actually here on the planet? And so that's kind of like my 5-year plan now.
That's really beautiful. I was going to say that too. Like Tina a year ago would have been like this, and this, and it would have been so like laid out. So it's actually really beautiful to hear you say that, like, you're going to let purpose find you and let that grow organically and authentically, which is honestly what this whole podcast is about like discovering the acoustic, authentic you. So thank you for sharing that with me.
And it's not easy, you know what I mean? It's not, I was even nervous coming on the podcast, because I'm like, I'm in between right now. Like, like I don't belong to a brand right now. Like, what do I have to say, right now? And it's like, girl, you have so much to say. Like you've been through so much. It's, do you know how many people are in your position or have been in your position or will be in your position where you're kind of like in this liminal space, like when you're leaving an old world and getting ready to enter into a new world, you know, like that is a part of the human life. And if I can speak to that, that's a part of this journey for me to actually speak to what I'm going through right now. Is really empowering. You know, my old story would have been like, no, Tina does not have it together. Call me back when I'm here and here and here. But this is a part of the story, you know, and that's,
Yeah. And it's honestly it's the most beautiful part of the story, T.
it is.
Like it's so easy to come on a podcast or like talk to people when like life is on the high and you're like rehearsing for Beyonce Coachella. Like it's really easy to be like, everything's great. Like I work hard, I play hard. Like that's really easy. But it's like to be able to sit with yourself in these in between moments and be like, you know what? Like it is what it is. I am where I am. And it is exactly where I'm supposed to be because I'm really in a season of becoming. Like it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And I'm just super blessed, you know. So I thank you so much.
And you're a Gemini. And
yes,
you're a Gemini. So like for you to be as a Gemini okay with like the limbo is big.
It's like huge. And it's like leave it to Danielle to be like, Tina, what's going on? I'm like, you have always been that person who's all like literally been in my corner, affirming me, rooting me on, speaking up for me when I didn't necessarily feel comfortable speaking up for myself. And so it's always so great to know that I have you, and to be on this amazing platform that you're creating, because like y'all, if y'all do not know, like this woman, like she has gone to bat for me more times than I could have imagined. And I'm always so grateful for you and your presence, that you continually, even like beyond, you know, us working at Soul, like where we are right now in life, and you checking in and you just allowing me to speak freely about who I am. So I just want to say I love you dearly.
Well, I love you more than anything, and I absolutely reciprocate every single one of those things. So before I let you go, we play a game. This game is my favorite game. It's not always your favorite game, but it's my favorite game. It is called Quick Fire Questions.
Oh, God. Okay. No, you know, this is very difficult. This is very difficult for a Gemini, but I will do my best.
Oh, I know. I know it's difficult for a Gemini. I also know it was difficult I interviewed Angela Manuel Davis for this, and she was doing fine until I asked her what her favorite outfit was. And she said, denim, vintage, trench. I was like, oh my gosh, you were doing so good. And then you stopped. So you're going to do a lot better. I know it. Okay. So it's 1 minute. You have to answer as quickly as possible. I'm going to like make up questions on the go. They are this or that. There's no time to it. You can't explain. You can't like go into like why. It's just yes or no, or red or blue, like whatever. You just quick fire. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
I know your Gemini heart is like crying right now. Breezy goes, this is horrible, because Breezy's a Gemini and she's like, I can't believe you're making people do this. I was like, well, that's because you're a Gemini. You would feel that way.
Yeah, I'm like, you haven't even asked me a question. I'm already exhausted thinking about having to answer.
Okay, here we go. Favorite food?
Double stuffed Oreos.
Favorite color?
Gold.
Favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Jamaica.
Favorite beach you've ever been to?
Maybe Uluwatu in Bali.
You're going to a deserted island and you can take 3 things with you. What are they?
Toothpaste, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album, sports bra.
Practical. Okay, private jet or private yacht?
Private yacht.
Best advice you've ever been given?
It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be kind.
You're going on a plane right now. Where are you going?
Mozambique.
Ah, that that was the last question. And that was such a good answer. You had the most interesting answers of anyone. The Lauryn Hill album, like you don't have any way to play it, but like it's coming with you.
It's coming with me, and somewhere, somehow, somebody will play it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Before I let you go, first of all, you're amazing. Thank you for doing this with me. I adore you so much. I would love for you to just tell everyone where they can find you. If they want to connect with you, maybe you tell them your Instagram, just how do people get a hold of Miss Tina J?
Oh, yes. You can hit me on the gram at _Tina J _.
Amazing. Well, my girl, I love you. I am thinking about you always.
Same, sister. Same.
We'll talk.
We need each other out of this.
Yes, girl. Yes, we do. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Love you.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Tina Jackson just fills my heart with so much joy and so much love. I've known that girl literally for the last 8 years. And every single time I talk to her, I feel like I learned something about myself. I learned something about the world. I also just like it reaffirms that people are so good. And she's just such a good human. She has a beautiful family. She has such genuine friendships with the people around her. And she's really created quite the network of community around her. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, because Tina J, I adore you. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your heart so open and honestly and vulnerable with us, because it really is important and it was beautiful. Okay. So a few weeks ago, I was asked to try Organifi, which is a superfood company. And I am always down to try things that are good for me. And I have been using their red drink and their gold drink. Their red drink is all of your essential reds. Your gold drink is all of your turmeric and things that help you kind of wind down at the end of the night. I've been using them for a couple weeks now, and I've really noticed a difference. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables as it is, but having a dedicated red drink to make sure that I'm getting all of my beets and reds, raspberries, apples, all of my reds, fruits and veggies into my system very quickly. And then having a turmeric infused drink to have at night to calm me down and get my head away from any of the stress that's happening in my life. I'm obsessed with these products. I think you will be too. If you are interested in giving them a shot, head over to Organifi.com, use my code ONTHEDAILY for 20% off. And let me know what you think. I'm loving them. So give them a shot. See if you like them too. On the Daily Family, we have episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Every Tuesday, you're going to get an interview. Every Friday, you get a solo episode, Unplugged with D. That's me. As always, go and subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe to us. Make sure that you do that. Podcasting is such a crazy, crazy world because it is truly word of mouth. So the more you talk about us, the more people hear about us. And then the more we subscribe, the more we can do and the more people we can bring this podcast to, which is a huge goal of mine, is to make this a global renowned podcast. So subscribe. Don't forget to rate us. We love a good 5-star rating. Give us a review. Write a review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, write a review for us. We would love, love, love to hear what you think. And then, as I said, you can always slide into the DMs at Danielle_on_the_daily on Instagram or at OnTheDailyPod. Tell us everything. Tell us how's your day's going. Tell me what you had for breakfast. I don't even care. Just talk to us. We love it. We love it. We love it. We will be back on Friday with a solo episode. And then, of course, next Tuesday with another episode. Hope wherever you are having the day that you need, and have some water today. I don't know where that came from, but I just remembered that I need water. So go do it. See you next week. Love ya.